Hello, everyone. Welcome to This Beautiful Life, the podcast where I interview regular, everyday people and ask them about who they are, how they see the world, and how the life they are informed their worldview. This podcast is an exploration of the human condition, a practice in empathy. It is an attempt to counterbalance a social media narrative that divides us into two different echo chambers where we only listen to ourselves and consider the others to be our enemies. Here we listen, we learn, and we don't place any judgments or shame on people. In today's podcast, I introduce to you Lianne. Lianne's had a very interesting life with lots of different chapters in it. I think you'll really enjoy this one. If you're going to comment on this podcast, I'd like to remind you that Lianne and I are both real people, so try to make sure any comment you make is something that you would be comfortable saying directly to our faces. Without further ado, I introduce Lianne. All right, okay. Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for doing this on such short notice. So I guess we can start with just tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born?
I was born, I grew up in Oakville.
Okay.
And lived there until my early 20s, when I then decided to head off to British Columbia and go to school out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. How long were you in British Columbia?
I was there for about 4 years. So
Okay.
I went out to BC to do a human kinetics degree.
Human kinetics? What the heck is that?
Well, I really wanted to be a phys ed teacher. That was my goal. So growing up,
so it's
I didn't
related
really
to
know what
kinesiology. Okay.
Yeah. So at UBC, the degree was human kinetics.
Okay.
So, I mean, some spots, some universities called it kinesiology, and then other universities had a human kinetics department. So that's what I was going in for. And I did about 3.5 years of human kinetics. And then I left the program and I decided to go into radio.
Okay.
So
That's a big shift.
Exactly. Everyone's like, how did that happen? And I was like, I don't really know. I think that because I was working in a gym as a personal trainer. Okay. So I was going to school and I was doing like gym stuff. And I think it was just kind of like a lot. And then I decided that I wanted to do something different. So I chose radio, and I thought, you know what, that might be something that was good. It was fun to do. And I thought I had the personality for it and the chops for it. I was also doing background work in TVs and movies. And so I had an agent for background work. So I would get calls to be in different movies or different commercials. And so
have you, do you every once in a while you're watching something with your kids and you're like, there's me in the back?
Well, it's very rarely do I see myself anymore, but there is one movie that I was a part of, and it was called The Pledge with Jack. Sorry, I'm going to cough. I apologize. Jack Nicholson, and it was Robin Wright Penn, and it was Sean Penn who was directing it. Okay. And there's a part in the movie where there's a flea market scene. And I'm wearing a leather jacket, my hair's down, and there's a lamp, and you see me pointing to the lamp. And I'm like, oh, cool. And you can hear me saying that. So I'm like, that's my claim to fame, guys.
Awesome. So from that, you thought, what made you think radio? What made you...
I've always been a lover of radio. I was always a critique of radio growing up. I loved, growing up, I listened to Q107, and I loved listening to classic rock music. And I always thought, you know what? I want to be on a classic rock station. That's my goal one day. I really enjoyed it. Okay. But then I never really thought much of it. And then I went into radio school in Vancouver, and then it kind of just became a reality for me. But I always had a love of radio.
So what kind of program is radio school?
It's broadcasting.
Okay.
Fancha, I believe, has now ended their program. A lot of those radio programs are ending because, with the birth of podcasts and just commercial radio
Dying.
is
Yeah.
dying, sadly. And I think that, and I hate to use the C word, but COVID really did a number on it as well,
Oh,
right? Um, I was out of the business by that point, but
yeah.
I mean, I still observe, I still watch, I still read, but um,
Hmm.
yeah, it's not as needed anymore
Yeah.
as what it used to be, and not a lot of people like. I mean, with everything being on Spotify or any type of downloadable music like Apple Music or
Yeah.
wherever you get your music from, YouTube, it's at your fingertips. You can
Yeah.
listen to any song anywhere, anytime. And so commercial radio.
Yeah. Even like I think about, so like my boyfriend, he still listens to the news, like to the radio a lot.
Mhm.
But like he'll be like, I'm waiting for the news, I'm waiting for the news, I'm waiting for the news, and then he'll forget, he'll leave the room and he'll come back and he'll miss the news. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you can listen to the news on a podcast, right? Like you can get
Yeah.
So even then, even if it's something so vital as that, you don't even need the radio anymore to listen to that.
It's funny because sometimes I'm still a critique of radio and I'll listen to it, and this isn't to go against any of my former colleagues, but it's the new ones that I've never had any interaction with. But
Yeah.
I'll be the person yelling at the radio. Why would you say that? Don't say it like that. It's got to be like this. So I'm still a critique. But that was a fun job for me. I really enjoyed it.
How many years were you actually in radio?
15.
Okay.
So I did 10 years in London. I did like a few. Okay, so my very first job was I was reporting traffic from an airplane in Vancouver.
Really?
Yeah. So I would go up in this little Cessna. It's a 4-seater Cessna. And because I didn't know, I didn't grow up in Vancouver. So I would have a road map on my lap and I would look down at the road from the airplane and I would follow along. And then I would be like cued. Okay, we're live from like skywards traffic. And then I would go on and I would have like 1 minute to talk. And I would have to like tell people, the listeners of Vancouver, the traffic. But because I wasn't overly familiar with
Yeah.
all the roads, I had my road map on my lap looking down. So
That gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
but it was a lot of fun. And we would fly out of the Tsawwassen airport, and there was I didn't get airsick only one time though. That my pilot at the time said, "We're going," because it was terrible weather. And I called and I said, "Are we going?" He says, "Yeah, we're going." And he was always adamant about going. Didn't matter the weather. So he's got the plane just going, bouncing and bouncing. And I'm like, if you don't land this plane now, there's going to be problems. So at that, he made a call. He decided, okay, I'm going to land the plane. We landed the plane and I book it and I book it and I book it. And I made it. That was the only time I was ever airsick. But the rest of the time, it was a lot of fun. I have pictures of me like with my little headset on, and
That's
it
wild.
was good. Yeah. So then from there, I was wrapping up my radio school. I call it radio school because let's just be real, that's what it was.
Right.
And I had 2 job interviews on the same day, and I was like, oh my God. And then I got offered 2 jobs on the same day, and I was like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? So I chose to stay in Williams Lake, like in British Columbia. So I went to Williams Lake instead of going to Peace River, Alberta, which is really, really far away. But so I was in Williams Lake for a year and 3 months, and then I moved back to Ontario after that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you were in Ontario but you said 10 years in London. It wasn't 10 years straight though, was it?
No, well, no, it was 10 years straight. I went to Chatham for a year, almost 2 years.
Okay.
And then then I was let go from that radio station, and I was off for like, I don't know, 2-3 months. And I had applied in London, and then I got hired on in London at Fresh Radio. Yeah. So I did that for 10 years. But I mean, in that time, I also had 3 babies, but I was employed and doing work for them. Yeah.
Okay. And then for a little while, you were living out in Newfoundland.
Yeah, that was on my mat leave with my second baby.
Oh,
Yeah.
so for your
So
mat leave, you went to Newfoundland and then
yeah,
came back.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So
And then
and
you were
then
in Newfoundland because of Mike's work, your husband's work.
yeah, like he had taken a job out there, and then he was working like in St. John's, but then he was offered to go out onto an oil rig. So he was gone for 3 weeks at a time and then home for 3 weeks at a time. So I had two little ones at the time, and then, excuse me, a third one on the way. And he did that job for 4 years. But because he was gone, I thought, you know what, I want to go back to work. So we moved back to Ontario. So after my mat leave was done, I was pregnant with my third baby, and I went back to work for the whatever 6 months that I had before I went on mat leave with her.
Yeah.
But in that time, Mike was going offshore. So he was gone 3 weeks at a time and then home for 3 weeks at a time. And I had three small children.
So you are very good at keeping all the balls in the air.
Yes. You know what? It'd be funny because like people would say to me, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. My husband's going away for a weekend and I have my kids. And I would look at them and I'd be like, excuse me? And they're like, oh, right. What would Lianne do? And I'm like, yeah, try that for 3 weeks at a time with literally a newborn, toddler, and a little girl going to a kindergarten. So
Yeah.
it was tough. And like I said, that was for 4 years. And then he had enough. But it was cute because we'd go to the airport and they would be so excited to see their dad, and we'd pick him up, but
Yeah.
it got a little bit much, and then he decided to make a change.
Yeah.
So
What do you think is it about you that makes you able to do that? Because a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that and wouldn't be okay with it.
I don't know. I guess I just have a lot of, I don't want to say
Stubbornness?
control, but what's that?
Stubbornness?
No, I don't think it's being stubborn. I think it's just like, I think that I would always know that no matter what, I would always be able to take care of my kids. You know what I mean? Like so him having to leave for work, it didn't stop me from doing what I had to do, and I would accommodate what I had to accommodate, just so that he could go out and provide. And it was a good job. I mean, and it was work that he enjoyed doing, and
Yeah.
but I think that it was just more about like, I knew that this is something I had to do, and I'm
just
not
did
going
it,
to let
yeah.
anything stop me. I mean, yeah, every once in a while I would ask for help if I had a lot going on, but you know what? I had them in daycare when I was at work. And then for part of that, I was off because my time in radio ended, and I never pursued it after I was let go. And so I had a year, and then I went back to school full time. And all the while he was still going back out to work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But,
So yeah, so you were working at the radio station in London, and then you got let go, and then you pivoted again and went in a completely new direction.
it's true. So then I decided I'm going to go into law. So I put myself into the paralegal program at Westervelt. And so as it stands since 2018, I've been a licensed paralegal.
Yeah.
And I currently work for a family lawyer. Now, as a paralegal, I don't do family law. Like, we can't practice family law. They've now come out with something called the Family Services Program, but I don't do that. So I work for a family lawyer as a law clerk, but I'm a licensed paralegal. So I'm also a notary public, and I can commission documents. And I do that like at home here too, right? Like if someone needs something, if someone needs something notarized, then I'm happy to go and do that. And I can help them out because I'm still a licensed paralegal with the Law Society.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
cool. So what does that job look like? What do you do?
Ooh, well, the lawyer I work for, she's very busy. She does a lot of, like, it's family, so, but she does child protection cases.
Okay.
And she does family matters.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm not allowed to talk about any of it.
My understanding, though, is that like the lawyer actually does not as much. It's you that does everything.
No, gosh,
Okay.
she does so much. I can't speak for other practices and other lawyers, but as a law clerk, I do assist in like drafting and starting to help draft, but it's a lawyer has to have her hands on everything,
Yeah.
right? And like if someone was to call me and ask me questions, usually what I say is, I can't give you legal advice. I'm going to have to, make sure that the lawyer
Yeah.
knows that, because I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be able to give them any type of legal advice. I can answer questions that are not legal related, but no. So I don't. No, that's not the case. She's very hands on. At least my lawyer is. Again, I don't want to speak for every practice, but I can tell you with where I work, she's very hands on.
Yeah. And you enjoy it?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. She's very busy and she keeps me busy, but she's also very appreciative. So like she'll say to me like, thank you for like all your work you did today.
That's nice.
And I'm like, you're welcome. It's my pleasure because it's my job, but I'm also grateful that she's grateful. So that's nice. It's a nice work environment to be in.
Yeah. Do you ever miss radio? Do you ever feel like you...
I do miss radio.
Yeah.
It's funny because people will ask me all the time if I miss radio, and I do. But the only part I miss about it is the on-air part.
Okay.
The non-on-air part, like any of the, I don't know, the office politics stuff, I don't miss. And I know that the role would have changed a lot if I had stayed like where you would be doing multiple roles and not being compensated for it.
Right.
So, and that's just not. I think they knew that that's not who I was because, I would stand up for myself. So.
Right.
But I miss the on-air part.
Yeah,
but
you got it when at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that, like I always had people call me and they were always happy to talk to me and I enjoyed the job. And I like to think that people enjoyed my show. So.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fun. So you've got 3 girls.
I do.
2 teenagers, 1 almost teenager.
Yes, she just turned 12 and she cannot wait to be 13.
And I imagine because she's got older sisters, she's probably already like a little bit more teenager than...
She's the one who constantly wants to say the F word. She's looking at me right now. She's sitting right beside me.
So how's that going? How's having 3 teenage girls going for you? Without saying mean things about your kids.
No. You know what? I think I'm very lucky. I hear stories of people whose kids don't get along very well or they fight all the time. And you know what? Like I had a sister and we may not have gotten along all the time, but that's being siblings and that's being family, right? I only had 1 sibling, but they have the 3 of themselves and they get along well. Like they push buttons, especially the little one. She pushes all the buttons. But so do the other 2. So like when I have to be a little bit harsh and say, come on, guys, like for real, like stop picking on each other. And I'll say to them, like, it's not just to one person. I'm directing this to all 3 of you. And whether they're all in the room at the same time when I'm like giving my little spiel, but at the end of the day, like they all do love each other and they will goof around and love and hug and yeah.
How have you I don't know how to ask this. Something about like you did have 3 sort of distinct kind of careers that you just described to me. Like you started with the to be in a gym and then in the radio and now in law. I wonder if that sort of route kind of informs, because as you know, you're a mom of girls, and so you're sort of like setting an example for them on how to live their life, and so I don't know where I'm going with that, but just sort of something like What kind of advice do you give them about how to
Well,
choose what to do with their lives?
Well, I show them that, like you can do anything and you can change it. Like, okay, for example, Nikki, my oldest, she didn't really know what she wanted to do. And then she started manufacturing in school, and she was welding and doing some, some really amazing things, some awesome pieces. And her dad's a welder, and, like he would talk to her about it. And, sometimes they would go into the garage and, build some pieces together. And she thought, like maybe this is where I wanted to go. Then for a while, she thought she might want to be like an aviation mechanic. And we're like, great, like a woman in the trades. That's amazing. Like I was really on board with it. Mm-hmm. And then she wasn't so sure. So she changed her mind a bit about the aviation side, but she thought, maybe she would like to go into welding and manufacturing. And then she has a co-op class this year, like this semester. She hasn't started her co-op yet, but I've asked her, I'm like, what are you going to do? And I think she's changed her mind again about manufacturing. And I said to her, that's fine. You're allowed to change your mind. Mm-hmm. Like, I support you no matter what. So if it's maybe nursing or welding or whatever, then I support her. Mm-hmm. But I did say to her, look, like if you want to go into manufacturing and be a welder, go get that job and make some really good money and get some life experience. But if at the end of the day, you decide, you know what, I don't want to continue on with this job, then no one's stopping you from going back to school and getting another diploma or degree or whatever. And I use me as an example. I'm like, well, look at what I did. I was in radio, and then I went to do this, be a paralegal. I'm like, you can do that, and you're allowed to do that. Yeah. And that's the joy. I use my sister as an example. Like, she put herself back through school, and now she's a licensed therapist. So, you know what I mean? Like, you can do anything.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell them.
Yeah. And I think that, like, I like that as there's this sort of this idea that you're like 16 and you have to choose what you want to do for the rest of your life. And you don't really. You can change. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I do tell them that, like Alex at one point, she's like, I think I want to be a dental hygienist. I'm like, great. So we looked into schools. I mean, she's 13, but and she has a little bit of time, but it doesn't hurt to look. It doesn't hurt to like research schools and where you want to go. Yeah. So then her dad said, well, why not look into dentistry? She's like, okay. So then she's like, I think I want to be a dentist. Huh. Great. And then she last week said, I'm going to be a crane operator. All right. That sounds great. My mother always had that advice for us too. Like, she always said to me, well, I don't know if Cher said this to my sister, but she would say to me, look, if you want to be a garbage man, garbage lady, then you be a garbage lady, but you do what you want, and you do what you like. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and she goes, and I'll support you. Like, okay. I did not become a garbage person, but hey, they would probably make great money.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to any of that stuff. And that's what I tell the girls too. I'm like, you do what you want to do. Yeah. So
what did your mom do?
My mom was in human resources. No, I'm sorry, customer service. Okay. So yeah, she worked for, so her last job before she passed, she worked for a company called Searle. I think that was a pharmaceutical company, and she was a customer service rep.
Okay.
It was funny. All my friends and all my sister's friends would say that, and I hope I can say this on your podcast, that she had phone sex voice, because she had this beautiful, beautiful voice. And she would say, oh, how did it go? She would say, Searle Canada, or Searle Canada customer service, Nikki speaking. And it was the way that her voice came out, and she had this beautiful melodic voice. Yeah. And
can you still hear her voice?
I can hear her laugh, and I can see her face, and I do have pictures, so I see her smile. She doesn't enter my dreams as often anymore, but it has been
a long time.
24 years this summer. It'll be 24 years.
Wow, that's a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where I was 26 when she passed away. So it's
Okay.
getting to the point where she's been gone. She's almost to the point where she's been gone the same amount of years.
Yeah, that you had her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So your mom died of cancer?
She did.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had breast cancer.
Yeah. So my mom also had breast cancer. And then I had a preventative mastectomy, and then you recently also had cancer, right?
I did, yes. So January 17th was a year ago that I had my surgery. But I think my case was really, really, I don't know, someone above was watching out for me. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I've always gone for, I was in the high risk program, so I always went for yearly mammograms and MRI. And that last one, so it was December 13th, it was a Friday. So Friday the 13th in December, I got a phone call.
Yeah.
And it was my doctor. And I was like, I don't like that you're calling me. And she's like, what? And I said, well, you're calling me and I don't like that it's you calling me. So something's not good. And she said, well, I need to tell you that that they found cancer. And in my last, they had me get in for a biopsy. I forgot to mention that part. So I had gone in for a biopsy, but I hadn't heard back yet the result. It had been a while. And I was like, I can't believe they haven't given me a result yet. Usually they were quite quick. So to me, that was not a good sign. Then I hear her voice and I didn't like that. So then she told me, we're getting you in again for another biopsy. And it turned out that the cancer was 1.7 millimeters in size. Well, that's completely
very tiny,
unheard of. Like, it was tiny, because people are like, well, how did you detect it was a lump? I'm like, it's 1.7 millimeters. Like, I had Mike grab me a ruler and he showed me, and it was this tiny little speck. And turns out that where the radiologist biopsied was, the way I read the report, it was the wrong area. But when he biopsied the spot that had the cancer. So had he not biopsied there, they never would have found it, and it would have just grown and things could have turned out differently.
Yeah.
So again, I always say that someone upstairs is looking out for me, whether it's one, two, or many, someone is looking out for me. And of course, my mother, being the angel she is, and she always had a love of angels, and I have angels everywhere, but she was on my side, I think, on that one. So I went back in for another biopsy, and they couldn't mimic the scan. Like, I was there for 3 hours, and they were flipping me and flopping me and turning me upside down and standing me up, and I was this and that way. And they're like, we can't mimic it, like the image. So that's it. Like, that was the only spot. And I was like, okay. So then the radiologist was like adamant about that. So then they told me that, I'm really sorry that we're not going to be able to get an appointment for you or call you until the end of December. And I was like, oh my God, that's so soon. Like, they were apologizing, thinking it was going to be long. And then next thing I know, I'm seeing the surgeon on a Monday, and he says, well, I can get you in on Friday. So I had 4 days to prepare for my surgery. So I chose a lumpectomy, and they took out the spot. I happened to have a fibroadenoma, which was totally fine, but they removed that. I had 2 lymph nodes removed. They did all the testing, and they told me that that when they tested the area that they removed, there was no cancer in it. So it had all been removed with the biopsy.
Yeah. Now, when they told you that you had cancer, did it, because you lost your mom to it, do you feel like you had an outsized reaction, or were you able to sort of stay?
I don't really know. I don't really remember my reaction. I think that I was like, I didn't bawl my eyes out. I didn't sob. I think that I was just like, it was like, I don't think I really know that I could believe it. I was like, really? So, excuse me, my boss was away, and well, I had called, and the lawyer, I wasn't working directly with the lawyer at the time. So I was working, regardless of the fact, I told the lawyer what happened, but I called Mike right away. And his reaction was like, what? And then I called my sister, and, she was just devastated. And then I called my sister-in-law, and she was just devastated. So I just had a moment of like, I don't know, like, I think maybe I left my body because I don't really remember it so much.
Yeah.
And then I came home, and like, so Mike and I gathered the girls, and I told them right away, like, I was not hiding anything from them. They knew about my mom. They always knew about when I'd go for my mammograms, and they knew I'd go for MRIs, and they knew that I would have testing done. And I never wanted that to be a secret from them, because, the history, and also the fact that they're girls and they're going to end up having to go through this as well. So we told them right away. And I always joke around that it was kind of funny how we were hugging, because I hugged the littlest Sam, Mike hugged the oldest Nikki, and then Alex was just standing there, and so she went and hugged the dog. So we all had someone to hug, and then we all had like a one big group hug. But and then I said, like, this doesn't change anything. I said, I'm still going to be your crazy psycho mom, and so right now we can have our cry, but it doesn't change who I am.
Yeah.
And then I probably went back to yelling at them about something, probably like emptying the dishwasher or whatever it was, but it didn't change. And then, like, I didn't broadcast it. I didn't tell people. It sounds silly, and people tell me that I shouldn't feel this way, but it's my story, and I feel the way that I feel. But I felt embarrassed to tell people that I had it. And I think the reason why is because, and again, this is my interpretation and no one else's, but I didn't feel like the typical cancer patient. Because when you hear of people having cancer, you think, oh, they're sickly looking or ill, or they lose their hair. I had one round of radiation. I had no chemotherapy. I didn't need any of that. The radiation, my sessions were like 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes long. And that was it. And they would play music for me when I would go in. And the last one, and I got to bang the gong. It was April 2nd. And so April 2nd, I will, that'll be my bang the gong day.
Yeah.
And that would be it. But, like all the medical appointments that I had, they were like shocked. They were like, we've never seen something so tiny and so small. Like there was no, like when they tried to pull up, when the medicine doctor was trying to, like decide if I needed medicine, he was showing me the stats, and he couldn't even use 1.7 millimeters as a stat. He had to go to 2 millimeters because it was too small.
Yeah.
So I feel very lucky. And also if you were going to maybe come up to this question, I did get the genetic testing done because my doctor, my surgeon, he's like, I want you to get the genetic testing done. So that day I had to go down and get a bunch of blood work done before the surgery. And so they did my genetic testing, and I didn't carry the gene at all. Yep. My sister did the genetic testing years ago, and she didn't carry the gene. And my mother didn't carry the gene. I think my mother's was self-induced. She had a lot of crazy issues that don't need to really be discussed.
Trauma. She had trauma.
But it was all, she had her own traumas that she had to deal with. And I think that it all festered inside, which created the cancer.
Yeah.
I don't know where mine came from, but.
Yeah. That would be nice, because that's the thing I worry about the most. I have 2 little girls, and I carry the gene. So it would really break my heart to pass that on to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my kids had a sigh of relief
I betcha.
when they found out. Yeah.
So you mentioned about you felt like someone was watching over you. So do you believe in God and heaven and an afterlife and that stuff?
I don't really know what I believe, but like, I'm not religious. My mother was Catholic, and she was really spiritual toward the end of her life. But I was never baptized. My mom always said, I'm not baptizing you. You can figure out what you want to be.
Yeah.
And I've never, so I don't, oops, I just ripped my headphone out. I not baptized. So I think that like I have my own beliefs, but I don't go to church and I don't pray. But I mean, I talk to her.
Yeah.
So I believe that she's around. White butterflies are a huge thing.
Yeah.
White butterflies. So, and it's funny because when my kids were growing up, they always saw white butterflies. They knew that was Grandma Nikki because I would refer to her as Grandma Nikki. And then they would be at school. And then their little friends would say, look, there goes Grandma Nikki. So all their little friends knew that the little white butterflies floating by were Grandma Nikki.
Yeah.
And then all like, so daycare kids, you would know that very well.
Yeah.
A white butterfly represents Grandma Nikki. So usually in the springtime, you know, one will flutter by and I'll just say, oh, hi, Mama. And then off she goes. But sometimes she shows up at a time when you're really needing her. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And dimes. My sister brought up dimes to me one time and she says, you know, like I see a dime and it's mom. It means, you know, like mom's there. And my sister took me away. So it was my sister and my sister-in-law and three of my friends surprised me, took me up to Collingwood, and we were taking a picture in front of the blue, like the Blue Mountains sign, but it was all lit up in blue. And they had this like stand where you could prop your phone up and take a picture. And I had propped my phone up and I was like, I'm like, Cheryl, there's a dime in there. And of all places to find a dime was inside the phone stand where you could take a photo of you being in front of the blue sign. But I see dimes everywhere. And I'll, you know, it'll be on the ground randomly, or I'll find one in the washing machine, just on my floor randomly, you know, whatever. But they just show up at random times. So, yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. The butterfly thing in the daycare. There was one day where we saw one of those butterflies flutter by and everyone said, oh, it's Grandma Nikki. And then my dog ate it.
Oh my gosh.
It created a slightly awkward moment.
Oh my gosh, poor Grandma Nikki.
What do you think about raising kids in this generation?
It's tough.
Yeah.
I feel for them because I think when I got raised, we had the best because we had the best of all the different worlds, right? We had no helicopter parents.
Yeah.
We had like come home when the street lights come on era. We had telephones. We had like answering machines. We had the birth of the internet. We had cell phones. We had VCRs, betas, DVDs, CDs, cassette tapes, record players. We got all of it. They don't know any of that.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad. Although living in the country, I do say to them, like, come home when the lights come on, like when the street lights come on.
Yeah, you
I
live
get
in
to
a
do
very
that.
unique area.
Yeah. So I get to tell them, you know, like, I know where they are. I'll be like, okay, I know they're down the street at so-and-so's house. Or like, I know that I could probably message one of the moms or one of the dads and say, hey, is like, you know, are the kids there? Can you send them home?
Yeah.
Because, you know, they may not have their phone on them. But I like that they can go off and ride their bike and I don't worry about them being kidnapped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when we lived in London, like I wouldn't let anyone learn how to ride a bike on the road.
Yeah.
Because even though we lived on a side street, people like were driving like maniacs. And I'm like, I don't trust anybody. So we'd have to go to the school and bring the bikes. And we didn't live far from the little public school, but you know, like it was not as easy as it is up here. And up here, you know, like we have a pool and we have like little friends here and we have a nice little community and I love it. So I think that I'm happy that we live where we live because at least the kids get to grow up in an area and in a time that it's difficult because they're on devices all the time and it's hard to get away from that. But they're also in an area where, especially come summertime, like you get rid of those phones, get rid of those devices, go play outside, go ride your bike, go jump in the pool.
Yeah.
go walk the dog, go see your friends. You know, like you can just walk down the street, knock on the door. That's the kind of place that where we live. You can, like we used to do, like go down the street, go knock on the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And you
what we
would
do.
just
That's what they
disappear.
do.
You would disappear
Yeah.
after breakfast and you come home for dinner and your parents didn't know where you were.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And that's what they do in the summertime. Wintertime, not so much. It's cold.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of snow here, and it's cold.
Yeah.
But
So you feel like you're managing to. I feel like for our parenting generation, we're kind of constantly trying to walk this careful balance of like, how do we keep them in the world that exists, but also protect them from all the harmful things in this world? And where you live, I think you have a bit of a balance.
a little bit, yeah. I mean, I can't control what they see on the internet. Like I'm not that type of parent that has all the controls on their devices. You know what? That hurts my brain. And I have to trust that they're going to make good choices. And I'll be honest, I think they have made good choices.
Yeah.
Like, Sam, what are you doing right now? What are you watching? What are you playing?
This is a
Are you
test,
watching
Sam.
a video? She's just watching. She's watching YouTube, and then she's watching a game on YouTube. So I don't think that she's watching something bad or like inappropriate or whatever. Like her favorite show is Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like honestly, like she can rhyme off every single word.
I've
So
noticed, yeah.
I'm not super concerned about what they're watching, because like they'll get on their devices and they all play games together, like that Minecraft or Roblox or something.
Yeah.
And then like Bethany has introduced her to this drawing game, and so she went and bought herself her own iPad, and now she loves the same drawing game.
Oh, wonderful.
And I love that, because it's not. No, you don't need to show that. You don't. Like I know that she's doing something kid-like. You know.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something that's appropriate for her age, and I'm honestly not really concerned about my kids.
Yeah, I do feel like this generation, they seem to be leaving behind their childhood a lot younger than we did.
Yes, and I think that my kids aren't. They do still say and do very kid and age related things.
That's good.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's nice.
I absolutely love that. And I kind of brag about that
Yeah.
to people, because, you know, like my kids still want to do kid things and go see like cartoonish movies and, you know, have sleepovers with their friends and eat lots of candy and hang out. They're not interested in drinking. They have no interest in smoking, or, you know, like they know that drugs are bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, great. You know, like I'm not concerned that, you know, like my almost 17-year-old is going to go off drinking and driving, because she doesn't drink. And if she does drink, it's under supervision of her parents.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really do that. She doesn't ask for it. Like we've said, you know, like on a special occasion, oh yeah, you can have, like at Christmas time, sure, why not? But it wasn't like crazy by any means. Like, and again, it's under parental supervision. So.
Yeah, yeah. What have you found you've enjoyed the most about being a mom?
Watching them grow. Although, gosh, it makes me so sad when Facebook memories come up and their little faces are so small, and I miss that.
Yeah.
But I like seeing where they're going. And I always say to Sam, we'll be driving to karate, and I'll say to her, I can't wait to see what you look like when you grow up. Or I can't wait to know what your voice is going to sound like when you're older.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, I have video of Nikki when she was little. I remember I have a video of her. We had grown peppers in our garden, and one half was green, one half was red. And I remember her little tiny voice, and she was like, it's green, it's red, it's green, it's red. And I can still hear her little girl voice in my head. And, you know, like she would walk around through the garden with Mike right before bed. And so she would go look at all the vegetables and all the flowers. And we had these ceramic gnomes in the garden, and she would pop up from the like one side, and she would say night night, and I can hear her cute little voice saying goodnight to the gnomes. And then Mike would say, go say goodbye to the moon, say goodnight to the moon. So she would look up at the moon and she would wave to the moon. And so I miss the smallness of them and their little voices, but I love seeing where they're at now. Like Nikki's driving now, and I love seeing that she's evolved to be this, you know, beautiful young lady. And we get compliments on how polite our girls are, and that they're always using their manners, and that they're always so helpful. I mean, yeah, they're going to be butts when they're at home because they know they can be butts at home.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that we've raised some pretty awesome kids and that people like having them around. Yeah. Like, I got a message from one of Alex's friends to say, you know, thank you for Alex for being so kind to the friend's name. Like, thank you for being there for her. Like, that she was there for her and she stayed up with her or whatever it was. But it was something that was like really meaningful, and that, you know, like Alex stood by her friend. And I'm like, well, that's great. Like, I'm glad to know that they're the kind of people that Mike and I are raising.
Yeah.
And again, like, yeah, they can be butts at home, and we like, you know, are like, why can you do these things elsewhere, but you can't do it at home? But they also probably feel safe here.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly
and
what
loved
it is,
here,
yeah.
and they know that, you know what,
that
if
they can be a jerk
something,
and you'll still love them. Yeah,
and it's true. And I do tell them that, and I lose my mind sometimes, and I'm like, it doesn't stop me from loving you. And it doesn't stop me from like ever wanting to help you, but like, come on, man, like, help me out.
Yeah.
So
it is like you sort of, we don't know what we're doing, you know, and from the time they're born, you're making billions of little decisions, and you never know if it's the right decision. And so as they start to become who they are, you're like, oh, I didn't mess it up.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, you know, like I've said to friends before, I'm like, well, I didn't get the manual. Why wasn't this in the manual? Why didn't they put this in? Like, and I always wanted to write like a parenting book for all those new parenting or parents that are out there going like, what do I do? And it's so funny because I would always, like, a couple people that I used to work with, they'd be like, oh, what would Lianne do? Like, you know, like, how does Lianne handle this? And, you know, Lianne, you're like the OG, and you're like, you know, like such a good mom. And I'm like, really? Like, thanks. But like, I hope my kids think that. But then I look at other people and I think like, oh gosh, like they were meant to be moms. Was I meant to be a mom? God, I hope I was meant to be a mom. I am a mom, but there are some people out there that weren't meant to be moms. So, yeah.
If you were to switch careers again, do you have any idea what you would do?
A mechanic. Because I've had so many issues. It's true. Honestly, like, I have always had an interest in cars. When I was 18, I worked for a Ford dealer, and I worked in the shop with the mechanics, and I really enjoyed that. And I mean, the mechanics would teach me and show me things, but I was what you would call a car jockey. So when customers would bring the cars in, I would like check them out, look for damage, mark it on the sheet, and then I would drive them around to the thing. And if the mechanic needed it right away, I'd bring it into the shop for them, and then they would do their job on it. So, but I worked in the evenings. So some nights I would work late, and I would get to like help out. I remember like one of the mechanics like showing me how to change brakes, and that was kind of fun. And machine rotors. I don't even think they machine rotors anymore, so I'm probably dating myself. But I also at one point worked for a guy who owned a radiator business, and he would repair radiators and gas tanks. So I think maybe a mechanic, because the vehicle that I just had was the same age as Sam. So Sam is 12. So it was a 2014, and I've just now handed over the keys to Nikki. So now that's Nikki's car.
Oh,
and I bought myself, so now I have a brand new car, which is crazy because I went many years without car payments. But I've had to put a lot of work into the old car, which is why I feel safe giving it to Nikki, because so much work has been done. I was like, why don't I just become a mechanic and just do the work myself? The only problem is that we don't have a shop space big enough for like a hoist or anything. What's wrong?
Nothing.
But yeah, that's what I would do.
That's
and then
fun.
Nikki's like, why couldn't you guys have put me into like Formula One racing? I want to be a race car driver. And I'm like, well, because like, I mean, I don't know enough about cars. So yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit about it. I can't think of any more questions. That was really interesting. There was a lot there that I didn't know about you.
Oh gosh, well, I used to like tell people stories. I used to work when I worked in radio in Williams Lake. I got a job. I always call it my moonlighting job, and I worked at a Boston Pizza because radio didn't pay very much. Still probably doesn't pay very much. But I would go in and I would work as a waitress at this Boston Pizza. And I remember one night. Okay, so there was in Williams Lake, that's the area where they have a lot of forest fires. So Williams Lake had an airport, and that's where all the firefighting pilots would base themselves, and then they'd fly out their planes and go fight fires with their airplanes.
Okay.
So they would come in and just chat with me because, you know, personable young girl, always had a story to tell, and they would listen to me, and they would say, "You're so funny. You should do stand up." And I'm like, "I don't think I could do stand up," but I always had a story to tell. But yeah, it was fun. I remember one time I needed to get home to see my mom, and I was going to fly from Williams Lake to Vancouver and then fly from Vancouver back home. So I had booked a flight from Williams Lake, and I walked into the airport, and they were like, "Oh, hello, Ms. Young. Yeah, come on through." And I was like, "What? Like, what's going on?" So then they walked me through the airport, and I boarded my 8-person plane solo. So there I'm on a plane all by myself for this flight into Vancouver. So I said to them, like, "Oh my gosh, can I sit with the pilot?" And the pilot's like, "Yeah, come on up." So instead of me sitting in the back being like, you know, chauffeured in the air,
Yeah.
I was up. So I had the headphones. I was talking to the pilot. We had a great flight into Vancouver. And then my friend Kylie was picking me up at the Vancouver airport. And she told me afterward, people were whispering, "Oh my God, who's that?" Who's like thinking I'm some sort of celebrity getting off this plane because I have sunglasses on. I'm getting off. I'm the only person on the plane. I have my little wheelie suitcase, and I was like, "Oh, I'm this important person, and I'm getting off this like fancy airplane." So that's one of my other favorite stories to tell.
That's awesome.
I'm sure I have many other stories, but yeah. That's it.
That's cool. Thank you very much, Lianne. I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, and I'm glad I could to be here. And
yeah, that was awesome. All right, we'll be in touch. Take care.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
bye.
Bye. Welcome to the postmortem, the part of the podcast where I pick apart everything that we just talked about. So there's a few things I should say. For instance, Lianne and I have known each other for 11 years. When I found out I was pregnant with Bethany, I decided to drop out of my PhD and open a home daycare. So Lianne's daughters, 2 daughters, were my first daycare clients. And so our children have known each other almost their whole lives. And her youngest, Sam, is best friends with Bethany, and Abby really loves Sam as well. I went digging through some old footage so I could show you. Lianne talked a little bit about how much she enjoys the memories of when her children were young. So I dug through some of my old footage from the daycare, and I found this absolutely fantastic video of our 2 daughters together.
You guys are such good chefs. Look at those butts.
And yeah, that just put the biggest smile on my face. And then I sent it to her, and then I went down a rabbit hole watching all my old videos, and then I lost an entire evening's worth of productive editing time watching cute videos of my kids when they were little. So I really empathize with what she was saying about how, you know, it's so wonderful to see the people that they're becoming. It's really enjoyable, but it's also really I get a lot of pleasure from remembering the people that they were. And yes, I do sort of long for those days back, for those cute little cheeks and the giggles, but it was also a lot of hard work. So I don't think I really would like to go back there. I feel like having kids is like, an onion is a terrible comparison. I hate the onion comparison, but like your revealing layer. Maybe it's more like a flower opening. That's a better comparison. Watching your kids grow is like watching a flower open. You don't know what it's going to look like, and you get a peek, and you get more of a peek, and then you get more of a peek, and eventually you get to see how beautiful they are. And I've really been enjoying that process. So yeah, she definitely kind of hit on that in her interview. I did want to mention, Lianne talked about how the place where they live is really unique. She said talked about living in the country. They don't quite live in the country. They live in a small town, but people throw around the word small town a lot, and they'll like refer to like someplace, if it has public transit, it's not as, in my mind, even if it's got traffic lights, it's not a small town. The town that her family lives in, I pulled it up on Google Maps and I counted there are 9 streets in the whole town. 9 streets. So that's a small town. I don't buy this whole, like, a town with 40,000 people is a small town. No, that's not a small town. One of the questions I asked Lianne was, what's it like having 3 teenagers? And after the interview, she sent me a screenshot. She sent me a meme. It said, "Life with a teenager is wild. I can have 40 years of experience, 2 degrees, and Google in my hand. But tell me again how I'm wrong because you watched a 12-second TikTok." I think that's great. So I can already sort of see having teenagers is going to be frustrating. Unless I take away their internet. Doing this podcast thing is really very interesting because, number one, it's reminding me how many really cool, interesting people I know. And the more I do this, the more I think, oh, there's another person I should ask for an interview. That's another person I should ask. So it's really reminding me how blessed I have been to meet so many cool, fascinating, intelligent, engaging people throughout my lifetime. I have been so blessed to have had so many different experiences and so many cool people pass through my life. And then the other thing is, I really love when you're sitting with a person and having a normal conversation, there's sort of an expectation that, like, you tell a little bit about your life and then I tell a little bit about my life, and we sort of like find common ground in between us. But when I'm doing the podcast format, it's very much don't talk about myself, ask them questions. And anytime I do talk about myself, I afterwards kind of regret it. And I'm like, oh, Erin, why did you say that? You shouldn't have said that. That was a silly thing to say. You should have just kept asking them questions about themselves. So I find it really interesting when I am focusing on them and asking them questions about their lives, how many cool, interesting things that I learned that I've been talking to Lianne for 11 years. 11 years. We have chit-chatted, at daycare pickup and drop off. Sometimes she would sit on the couch and we would talk for an hour while our children played, or now our kids are still friends. So, sitting by the pool while the kids are playing in the pool, we're having chats. And I never heard most of these stories. I had no idea about so many of these things. So I'm really enjoying the opportunity to just dive into someone else's life the way that you would a book. When you read a book, you're fully absorbed in their life and you cease to exist for a little while and it becomes all about this story. And that's what I'm really enjoying about doing the podcast, is this opportunity to just really absorb myself in someone else's existence. And I'm finding it a great exercise. I'm really glad I decided to do this. Although every time I'm like, oh no, I need a podcast really quickly. My last person canceled. I don't have enough time to do a podcast. Why did I choose to do a podcast? I'd so much rather be just reading a book right now. But it's when I actually do it, I really enjoy it. So I'm really glad that I've started doing this. I also sort of thought that we would end up talking about politics and social media a lot more than we do in these interviews. And I find that generally people don't bring it up unless I specifically ask them. And when I'm in the moment and I think to myself, maybe I should ask a question about where they stand on politics and how the world is, and you know, the social media thing, I feel like it's such a downer question. So maybe we are all avoiding talking about it because it really just makes us feel bleh, and it's something that's sort of outside of our control, and I'm not sure. But I also find I'm enjoying not forcing the conversation. I'm enjoying not trying to push an agenda on people and try and say, well, this is what we're supposed to be talking about and this is the goal. I'm really quite enjoying this sort of free form, we talk about whatever comes up kind of atmosphere. So yeah, that's, you know, I'm fumbling my way through this, trying to figure out what it's going to look like. And it's not a particularly successful podcast so far. Like my last one, I think only got 34 views, which is a shame because it was a really good interview. But I also sort of realized that I am not that good at this yet. And so maybe I need a little more time to get good at this and to find my groove and to understand how I'm doing it before I have a larger audience. It's probably for the better. Anyways, that's really all I have to say for now. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a pleasure. If you would like to be on my podcast, I would love that. Send me a message. I'm across lots of different platforms, This Beautiful Life or Gmail. My Gmail address is this.beautiful.life.aaron@gmail.com. That's a bit of a mouthful. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. I'll see you next time. Take care.